if you can see the kingdom of heaven in this clip, okay?
This incredible magnanimity. One woman was with friends at a Christmas party at a golf club, and one of the liberation movements threw hand grenades into the party, and several of the people were killed. She wasn't killed, but she was so badly wounded. She was in ICU for several months. Now she's talking, and she says she couldn't, when she came out, she couldn't wash herself, she couldn't clothe herself, she could not feed herself. It was done for her by her children. And then she says, of a condition that leaves her almost totally hopeless. She says, it has enriched my life.
Wow.
It's enriched my life. This must be crazy.
It's very advanced for me. I don't get it.
And then she says, I'd like to meet the perpetrator.
Wow.
I'd like to meet him in a spirit of forgiveness. I'd like to forgive him. And then she says, and I hope he forgives me.
Wow.
I mean, that's mind-blowing.
Is that the only way to freedom, is forgiveness? I remember hearing something about the Dalai Lama talking about he felt he was in danger with the Chinese because he felt himself losing compassion for them, which I didn't really understand at the time, but it sounds a little bit like what you're saying.
The thing is that you and I and all of us, even when we don't accept it, or understand, it is that God created us in such a way that I can't be human on my own. I wouldn't know how to walk as a human being. I wouldn't know how to think. I wouldn't know how to speak. I wouldn't know how to be a human being except through learning from other human beings. And so our humanity is bound up with one another's. And you see, we saw it in South Africa. If you carry out a policy that dehumanizes others, in the process, you are dehumanized.
Right.
And so you understand now. You understand how others can say, in order for me to be me, I want to forgive you. Because, have you discovered, when you don't forgive, frequently you feel it in your tum-tum. Yes.
And so I always thought, I was told that resentment was like drinking poison and then expecting someone else to die. You know, that it has that...
Oh, that's a beautiful...
Thank you very much, it's not mine. Father Tutu, we have to take a break.
The kingdom of heaven, Jesus said, is like yeast in a batch of dough. It is growing. He says you can't see it. It's within you. He says it's moving forward. It's happening. The world that we see that is so full of evil and wrongness is getting pushed aside. And in the day when Jesus comes back to restore this world of humanity, this world where he made people to enjoy their lives, he comes back, he's going to restore it, and the old world will burn up, and all the occupants of that old world will burn with it, according to the holy scriptures with which we live. John 3, really quickly here. Nicodemus, a teacher of the law, who's supposed to know all this stuff, he says, Jesus, wow, you do all these miracles. And Jesus says, I tell you the truth. No one can see the kingdom of God unless he has been born again. We have a choice. This is what this church gathers to celebrate. We celebrate the choice we have made together to move from this kingdom, the kingdom where money is king, to the kingdom of God. The kingdom where truth reigns, where God has his way. Let me tell you a real quick little story here that you're going to think is irrelevant. Just hold on. Driving to the church building this morning, driving along north in the Chaco. Right there in the middle of the road is a great big chunk of wood. And I swerved and I went right over it so that none of my tires hit the big chunk of wood in the middle of the road. And glad I missed that. My husband would have a fit if I wrecked the van again. So I drive by and I'm driving along and I'm thinking about, you guessed it, the kingdom of heaven. And what the kingdom of heaven is really like. And I'm thinking, hope nobody else hits that big chunk of wood on the road. That'll be a bad day for them. They'll have a hard time thinking about the kingdom of heaven. So I stop. I was kind of in a hurry. I wanted to get here early enough. And I turn around and I go and I take the big chunk of wood off the road. Let me tell you, the kingdom of heaven is here. Somebody didn't hit that big chunk of wood today because I live in the kingdom of heaven. I want God to have his way in my life, no matter how silly and inconvenient it looks sometimes. Isn't that exciting? So what I want you to do this week is I want you to go out of this place. Well, just before you leave, have some good conversations about this. But as you're out there, as you're in your house, watching TV, at your job, I want you to be looking for the kingdom of heaven.